If we take any lessons from the film we're going to talk about today, it's that we should take a nice hard look at the AI situation. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're going to head back to July 3rd of 1991 and see if we can stop Judgment Day. But before we do that, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here, great, would appreciate that. That's right, we're going back to July 3rd, 1991, and we're going to discuss Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Came out July 3rd of 1991, had a budget of $102 million. Up until that point, the biggest, most expensive movie ever made at that point. It grossed $205 in America and $520 worldwide. It's rated R, it's 2 hours and 17 minutes. We're going to be reviewing the theatrical cut. This was written and directed by James Cameron, who wrote and directed the first film. William Wisher helped him with the script. And we have a badass cast here with Arnold Schwarzenegger coming back to play the Terminator, Linda Hamilton coming back to play Sarah Connor, Edward Furlong playing her son John Connor, Robert Patrick playing the T-1000, Joe Morton, the great Joe Morton playing Miles Dyson. And basically this movie picks up, right at the beginning of the film, we see this massive nuclear explosion, and then we're transported to the future and we see the future war between the machines and humans. And we hear Sarah Connor's narration, and we get our title sequence, and then we are into this film where we see Schwarzenegger come in to the current time period, and we see him go into the biker bar with that badass scene, getting his clothes and getting the dude's motorcycle and that shotgun. And then we are introduced to Robert Patrick's character, the T-1000. He dispatches of a cop, takes the police uniform, which he dons for most of the rest of the film, although he does switch from time to time. We'll discuss that. And here, a Terminator was sent back. Instead of this time try to kill Sarah Connor, it's going to kill the leader of the resistance, her son, John Connor. And we're introduced to Edward Furlong's character, John Connor. And he's living with foster parents because Sarah is in an insane asylum. Thanks to Dr. Silberman, who was in the first film, who walked out just as Arnold was walking into the police station before he gunned down a bunch of cops and tried to kill Sarah there. And pretty much we had the shootout at the mall, that awesome chase scene down those concrete riverways in LA, spectacular stunt work, great explosions, and we're on to the meat of our story, where John realizes that Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator is here to protect him. He was sent by him from the future, reprogrammed to be his protector in this time frame. And they go to try to get Sarah out. The T-1000 is there. We get that great scene at the hospital. They get away. And pretty much from then on out, it's just them trying to figure out how they're going to stop this from all happening. Sarah's idea is to go assassinate Miles Dyson before he can create this. And she has a breakdown before she can do that, but she does cause a lot of terror on the Dyson family, and then they go to Cyberdyne to blow it up, which they do in a spectacular explosion. And then we get that final confrontation with the T-1000 in the steel mill, and finally the T-1000's dispatched. Arnold's Terminator has them lower him in to destroy his CPU, and that is the end of T2 Judgment Day. What to like about this film? Well, pretty much everything. James Cameron's a master at action cinema. He had already given us the Terminator, the original Terminator, which is a great film, more of a horror film, horror sci-fi film. This one's more of a sci-fi action film. Then he gave us Aliens, which is a awesome, spectacular sequel to the classic Alien. Then right before this, he did The Abyss. I'm not forgetting about Piranha 2, folks, so don't be out there screaming, Piranha 2? You forgot about Piranha 2. I'm well aware that James Cameron got fired off of Piranha 2, but he did shoot Piranha 2. The Abyss, and then he did this film. And honestly, the cast is spectacular. I actually really like Edward Furlong. I know I've seen other people give him shit, but in this film, I think he's spectacular. I think he's really good as this kid who didn't believe what his mother was telling him and training him for all those years, to suddenly realize that everything she said was very, very much real. And now he's in a fight for his survival as well as hers. And that the future war is going to come. The nuclear fallout is going to come if they don't stop Judgment Day. And Arnold's awesome here. And I remember They hit it very well that Arnold was the good guy back then. I got to see this in the theaters. I begged my parents, because I'd seen the original Terminator many, many times, watched it on my dad's VHS, recorded off HBO or Cinemax. I wore the shit out of that tape. And I love the original. And I remember all the promotion for this movie. And I begged my parents to take me, and they did take me. And I was blown away at what I saw on screen. Because this was the very, very early days of CGI. And we'll get into the effects-wise. But I remember the tie-in with the Guns N' Roses video, You Could Be Mine, which I watched over and over and over again just so I could see the... I like that song, but I watched it over and over again because I wanted to see the footage from the film. Then that awesome teaser trailer that Stan Winston directed that cost $150,000 was showing the T-800 on the assembly line getting the skin, and it's Arnold. You can find it on YouTube. If you don't remember it, search it out. That teaser trailer kicks ass. And I wish films would do that kind of stuff more instead of showing us way too much footage from the film. Give us something just to whet the appetite, makes us excited. It's a lost art form, and this film definitely capitalized on that. And the effects, let's get into the effects. The effects are fucking spectacular. From the makeup effects, Stan Winston's mechanical effects, him and his team's effects, to the CGI, which holds up incredibly well. I just rewatched this last week with my son, his first time watching it, and the CGI effects hold up extremely well. Now, obviously, if you've seen The Abyss was the training ground to get to where we got for T2. And the effects still, for the most part, hold up extremely well to this day. And I know ILM only had 6 employees until this film came along. They increased to 36 employees. It took them 8 months to render all the T-1000 effect shots that are in the film, and at a cost of $5.5 million, which is crazy, especially considering how well it holds up. Hell, there's movies that cost 3 times as much as this film, and the CGI doesn't look as good as the T-1000 in this film. And then obviously Jurassic Park came after it, so on and so forth, but these were the early days of CGI. The action is masterfully handled. This is, I consider, I know a lot of other folks do, this is definitely one of the best action films ever made. Full stop. It's definitely in the top 10 easily. I mean, the action in this film is spectacular. My son was blown away by the stuff they were able to pull off back then. And obviously, this at the time, this was the most expensive film ever made. But Cameron definitely put the money on screen. He utilized every cent to go on screen, although I know Arnold got a hefty payday for this film. I love Robert Patrick. Robert Patrick is phenomenal as the T-1000, our new threat of the film. And just his nods and his looks and his mannerisms they just sell it. And I just love what he's doing here. Linda Hamilton got jacked up, got in really good shape to do this film because Sarah Connor's a different Sarah Connor. In the first film, she was more timid and kind of dorky, kind of carefree kind of girl. And in this one, she's an adult now, and she knows what the future holds if they don't stop it. So she's been preparing since that first one, since John was born, training him and training herself because she knows what's coming eventually. We see video footage of her and Dr. Silverman in the room of her ranting about what's going to happen. Everybody's going to be dead in 1997. And it's haunting because we know as the audience, we know it's true, but the doctor doesn't believe her. Nobody at this hospital believes her. They think she's just crazy. But we know that's what fate has for us if it's not stopped. And Linda Hamilton gives a great performance here as well. So does Joel Morton. Everybody does. It's in this film. We get to see Jeanette Goldstein from Aliens and Near Dark here as John's foster mom. So there's a great cast here. The action is spectacular. The science fiction elements are still top notch. The effects are amazing and still hold up extremely well. And I love that final sequence where the helicopters chase them in the truck. They actually flew a real helicopter under a bridge, which is very dangerous. Just spectacular stuff. Any negatives about this film? I really don't have any. To me, this movie is textbook. This is how you do a goddamn sequel and do it spectacularly and do it right. You'll build upon what you've created and you expand it. Expand the world out. You build upon it and give us something new and exciting. And Cameron does that here in spades. There's some sequels down the line. I don't mind 3. 3's okay. Even 4 has some merit. But honestly, they never could top this one. The sequel, this is just a phenomenal film in its own right, yet it's a sequel to a very spectacular first film. Nobody was ever going to top this. Nobody's ever come close to it in the Terminator franchise, unfortunately. Um, I really don't have any negatives, so we're going to get into some trivia. At the end of the film in the steel plant, when there's two Sarah Connors, Linda Hamilton actually has a twin sister, and she doubled for her in those scenes where there's two Sarah Connors on screen. The effect of the T-1000 freezing at the end at the steel plant when the truck breaks open and he starts freezing in that, and his arm comes off, and that was done with an amputee with prosthetics on, and then Robert Patrick on the set, buried in the set, like his legs and that, all made up to look like he's frozen. I thought that was pretty cool, and it's seamless in the movie. It looks phenomenal still to this day if you haven't seen this in a while. That teaser trailer I talked about was directed by Stan Winston. James Cameron gave him $150,000 to go off and create that teaser. You can find it on YouTube. Just search Terminator 2 Judgment Day teaser trailer. It's freaking awesome. What a great teaser trailer. I wish they still did cool shit like that. Unfortunately, they don't. We already went into the ILM stuff. Overall, I mean, this movie, the pacing is amazing. I know I just talked about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, how the pacing kind of was shitty. This movie is edited for maximum impact as well. Even at 2 hours and 17 minutes, there is not a moment wasted in this film. And it's just, once it gets going, it sets up its story. It's a freight train, man, right to the end. And this is a movie I remember seeing. I was blown away when I saw it in the theaters back in 91. I was lucky enough my parents took me. And still watching to this day and seeing the look of my son's face watching this for the first time. I mean, his jaw was open. He couldn't believe the stuff they were able to pull off back then. And he had a lot of questions. How'd they do that? That couldn't have been CGI. And I'm like, yes, it was very early CGI, but they were able to accomplish this stuff. And no, that was always still the thing about Cameron. He's willing to push cinema to the breaking point. And back when he made this film, he was pushing special effects to the breaking point as well, and pushed it into places they didn't think were possible. And even, like I said, the practical mechanical effects and the makeup effects look spectacular. They definitely look a lot better here than the original, although they had a lot more money. The original film was only shot for $6 million, so we could forgive some of the shortcomings in some of the effects. But overall, that film holds up really well. But watching it now, I mean, there's portions of the effects that don't look that great. This film, they had the money. Stan Winston came back, perfected what he did in the first film, and it all looks spectacular. This is what can be done when a filmmaker has a vision and the drive to get it done. And the money. I mean, obviously they had a very, very healthy budget here, especially for the time. And, Jim Cameron once again delivered. He delivered on the first Terminator. He delivered on Aliens. And this was his next coup de grace, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And at the end of the day, I really don't have anything negative about this film. Watching it again, it holds up amazingly, and I would give it a 10 out of 10. This is one of those films I consider perfect. 10 out of 10 for Terminator 2 Judgment Day. What are your thoughts on this sequel? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Share this video. I would appreciate that. I'll be back later in the week with an out-of-the-theater reaction for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. I can't wait. I'm going to see it in the IMAX Thursday evening with my good buddy Dale _A from the Bat and Spider podcast. I'll have the out-of-theater reaction uploaded on Friday. But until next time, bye.